Hello. So today we're going to talk about creating simple logos. We're going to talk about three different types of logos. The first one, actually we're talking, hello. Today we're going to talk about making logos. We're going to talk about four different logos today. Simple logos, line logos, low poly, sometimes called geometric logos, and creating seals. The first one I'm talking about is a simple logo. So create your four artboards, and we're going to make our simple logo on the first artboard. I'm going to grab this artboard and scoot it away. I'm going to give my artboards a little bit more space, just in case I make any elements that overlap the artboards. I don't want them to grab on in case I want to move the artboards around. So on artboard number one, we're going to create a simple logo. First, I have to look for inspiration. Now, the business that I'm going to make the logo for today is Isaac's Grocery Store. So I'm going to write the word Isaac. Isaac's, all right, Isaac's, and let's see, grocery store. All right, make that bigger. Okay, so this is the name of the company we're going to make this for. So the first thing you're going to look for when you're creating this logo is inspiration. You're going to try to think about a motif or an imagery that's going to connect to Isaac's Grocery Store. Now, what I don't need to have is something that something that just tells me exactly what I can already tell from the name, which is it's a grocery store. So if I open up Google and start looking for inspiration, I'm not going to look up grocery store and look at images. These are going to give me lots of images for grocery stores, but those are in no way having an image of an apple or a rutabaga or a shrimp or anything else that you find in a grocery store is not going to be a way about differentiating, letting people know what is unique about my grocery store. Neither is having a picture of the front of the grocery store. Yes, it's a grocery store, but people are going to be able to tell that from the word grocery store. So what I need to do is figure out an image or something that's going to help people know the feeling that I'm trying to portray with my grocery store. So I want my grocery store maybe to, instead of having, let's go with a strong feeling. So I'm going to start thinking about things that are strong. And the first thing that pops to my mind is a mountain. Great. So I'm looking for mountains that look iconic as I scroll through. I think this image right here looks really iconic. So I'm going to save it, save image as, and I'm going to put it in I'm going to go to my desktop, maybe my Google Drive, into my drive. I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call it Isaac Grocery Logo. And I'm going to save this picture of Mount Everest into it. Not surprising that the picture that I found that was iconic was of Mount Everest. So now I'm going back to my artboard, and I'm going to place the picture that I found of Mount Everest. It is a WebP document, which means that I'm going to have to convert that into a different format before it can be placed into Illustrator. So I'm going to have to open up Photoshop and use Photoshop a little bit. So go to my Launchpad, open Photoshop, File, Open, go into Isaac Grocery Store, and I'm not able to open that in Photoshop because I've not updated to the newest version of Photoshop. So I'm going to have to work my way around this a little bit. I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to make a new Photoshop document. I'm going to paste my image into it. I'm using Command B or Edit Paste to get that image into this new Photoshop document. And then I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Actually, I could have used this, left it as a Photoshop document, but I'm just going to save it as a JPEG. All right. So now as I get back into Illustrator, I can place that image that I found. So this is going to be my inspiration. Now the first type of logo that I'm going to create is a logo using simple shapes. So this mountain, as I look at these mountains, they are made mostly of triangles. So I'm going to take my polygon tool and I'm going to start to draw a polygon. It has too many sides, so while I'm still still have my mouse pressed on draw my shape, I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard to lower the number of sides until I have a triangle. Then I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard to make sure my triangle is straight and place my triangle. Place it right over my image. Size it a little bit. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. I'm going to add a couple of secondary mountains to it. Now, I'm not going to go exactly like the actual image. I'm going to offset these just a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay. So that's my mountain right there. Now, the end of these mountains are all in different spots. So I have a decision to make is what I'm going to do with the edge to make these all kind of feel cohesive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a circle shape, switching it to an outline so you can kind of see it. I'm going to use this circle to cut away part of these mountains. So I'm going to select everything, and now I'm going to go back to my shape builder tool, and I'm using my shape builder tool and holding Option to cut away the parts that I don't want to keep, and then connecting the rest of it together. So I've got my icon for my mountain right here. I did not like the way that came out, so I'm going to back up. One thing I did not like about it is I think the center of this circle needs to be centered over the tallest mountain. Originally it was off to the side, so I'm going to redraw that one more time. I'm going to use my shape builder again to delete the parts I don't want. Hooray for Command Z. So I use the Command Z tool to back up. Okay. That looks a little bit better. Alright, so now I've got this mountain side right here. So I'm going to shrink this icon down, my mountain side icon. And now my main name for my grocery store is Isaac's. So ASACC''S. Isaac's grocery store. But I feel very bad about leaving this word Isaac's untouched. Right here it looks very plain, it looks very boring. So let's do some things to it. First, I'm going to look for what kind of font I could use for this. I don't have to choose a really elaborate font, but I need to have something, I would like to have something a little bit different than my standard font. I'm going to choose Broadacre. No, that's too thin. I want something thick, similar to the way that the mountain looks thick. So I'm scrolling through. Lato has several styles, and I think the black style of Lato looks very good. So that's something very thick. It looks nice. It kind of goes with the mountain side. I'm going to look at these letters, and I'm going to start to adjust the kerning of them. Anywhere where I think there's extra space, I can go to my character panel, go to kerning, and reduce the amount of space. Till it looks right. I'm going to do something a little bit interesting here. Between the A and the C, I'm going to create a ligature by reducing the kerning so much that the A and the C become one letter. And because I'm creating that ligature there, it's going to allow me to move some of the other letters close together, and it'll still, I believe it'll still have an interesting look to it. Okay, so Isaac's is done. I've got an icon to go along with it. Now, what I need to do something to this word grocery store. So I'm going to start with making it the same font but a different style. So I'm going to use Lato again. But instead of using black or even heavy, I'm going to make it contrast. The fonts are concordant. Now I'm going to spread this. I'm going to spread this font out, these letters out. In fact, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to get rid of the space between grocery and store. And I think there's a more interesting way to be able to differentiate these two words. So instead of having it having a space, I'm just going to take the word grocery and I'm going to italicize it and make it regular. So now I can see that these are two different words. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so the size contrasts with Isaac's even more. So that's one option. I've got my Isaac's grocery store. I could also move my icon to the other side. That's another option. Or I could just take the word grocery store and align it to the opposite side horizontally. Align it to the right, so to the left. I think that's my favorite one so far. I'm going to move that in. I'm going to do one last thing. To the word grocery store, I'm going to highlight or select the word grocery store. I'm going to adjust my tracking, spread it out just a little bit more. There are a couple ways of adjusting tracking. One is to go up to your character panel and adjust the tracking right here. Right now you can see it's set to 220. My other way is just with the word selected, you can hold down Option on your keyboard and use the arrows to separate or to make the tracking increase or decrease just by going from side to side. And that is my logo for Isaac's. That is my simple logo for Isaac's grocery store. I've got a simple icon that I created using only basic shapes, triangles, and circles.